Welcome to the Hope Discovered podcast. I'm Elaine Russell Reolfi. I lead CommQuest Services, and we're here today with the Honorable Frank Forchione, who has been gracious enough to come and talk to us about community leadership and what we can all do to help more people survive and live their best lives. So we're really glad to have you here today.
It's great to be here. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So I want to go all the way back to the beginning, to little tiny Frank.
Sure.
Where did you grow up? Can you tell me a little bit about your family?
Grew up in the city of Canton, near Gibbs School in the northeast section. 7 brothers and sisters, my parents, a small house. We shared one bathroom, one phone, and we're all still talking to each other. So it was great. We just went to the park and played ball all day. That was pretty much simple.
Yeah. And you're a St. Thomas grad.
I know. We're rivals. Yeah.
Yeah, we're rivals. We're rivals. Central class of 85. But I found going through Catholic education, especially in the 70s and 80s, there was a real focus on social justice and our community. And I just wonder, were those formative years for you in terms of who you are today with your community service?
Yeah. And I would tell you this, my friends from St. John's and St. Thomas are my best friends today. We still get together. We were always doing paper drive, washing cars. Actually, my mother was big in volunteering. We made packages back for the soldiers in Vietnam War. And so that kind of got us going at the beginning and followed through high school. And I've tried to take that direction today.
I grew up in my parents' store down on 12th Street.
Okay.
And so I think when you talk about the example your parents set, I found that as a very formative moment for me as well. What your parents do and what they make a priority for the kids certainly does affect who we are as adults.
Yeah, I was very lucky. My dad, when I became a public official, I don't mean to jump that quick, but he always said, you can be a public official who collects a paycheck, or be a public official who makes a difference.
Yep.
And I still hear that from him today.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's true. So your first step when you became an adult was you headed off to Kent State to study economics. Right. When at that stage of your life, what were you dreaming for your professional career?
Well, I thought it was going to be shortstop for the Indians, but it didn't work out. I really was
attracted. Did you play baseball for St. Thomas?
I did play baseball and played in the Class A league, but realized I couldn't hit a curveball. Actually, when I was younger, I was attracted to the law, and my father, who worked at Montgomery Ward's, would drop me off at the courthouse when I read in the paper there was a big trial, and I'd watch it and then take a bus home. So I always had that in the back of my mind. Mm-hmm. I was also attracted to teaching and coaching. So when I went to Kent, I also got attracted to economics, but deep down, I didn't think that's where I was headed.
Mm-hmm. But it's a good solid base to understand the world. So
yeah, it is. I was very lucky.
So when you became a lawyer, then a prosecutor, then a judge, at what point did you begin to see the need for treatment and social support beyond what was happening in the courtroom as you were looking at your clients or people coming in front of you? At what point did you take note of the need for treatment?
Sadly, a while. When I became a prosecutor in the early 90s, it was lock up and throw away the key. Mm-hmm. That was the mentality. And the big thing then was Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Mm-hmm. So treatment really wasn't discussed a real lot. I don't think it was until I really became a judge, and that was 17 years ago, that number one, I had some power to try to make a difference, but to see the effects that it had on people. And I think that's really when I took a great notice of what we can do.
Mm-hmm. Was there a moment where someone came in front of you and like that was an aha moment for you, or did it just build over time, that recognition?
That's a great question. There was 1 month I went to 4 funerals of young people in their 20s, of friends of mine, that had all died of heroin. And I had never really seen a lot of heroin. And it was shocking. And I just had a conversation with Mayor Burnaby, Tom Burnaby, who used to be my boss. And I was telling him the story, and he looked at me, we were having breakfast, and said, well, then do something about it. And that was kind of the aha moment that I should try to take some steps.
Isn't that interesting how family, parents, mentors in your life, those are the moments, right, where they remind you about something bigger than what you're consumed in every day? Yeah,
you gather a lot from listening. I have 2 nephews, I have a lot of nephews, but 2 young ones in their 20s who are really close with me. I tell them, God gave us 2 ears for a reason and 1 mouth. And we need to listen more. And I think I've gotten a lot of great advice from a lot of mentors, people like yourself that you work with. They point some things out that you say, boy, I didn't see it that way. Or maybe there is a different way of looking at it. And my 5 sisters make those points too sometimes.
I bet they do. I only have 2 sisters and they make them to me as well.
Yeah.
But that's one of the reasons that I love this job I'm in. I worked at Timken
Right.
Steel for 25 years. And, business is business, nonprofit or for-profit, same principles. But to work in a new industry where people know more than me about the clinical aspects of social, it's fascinating to me to work with people who know different things. And that's got to be a cool thing for you.
It is. And an example is talking to addicts.
Mhm.
I go and I talk to them, and some have made some really good points to me. A couple of years ago, they said, hey, all these treatment programs are great. The lockdown, we're getting a lot of help. Our big problem is once we get out, there's no transitional housing. We've stolen from our friends. Our parents and I don't talk. We've lost our jobs. Where do we go now? So then I started realizing, boy, we got to work on that next step.
Mhm.
Probably wouldn't have seen it until I talked to, people fighting their addictions.
Mhm. Yeah. Do you did you have a memorable client? Maybe it's a success story, maybe it's a tragedy, but is there somebody who you kind of carry with you in your memory?
Yeah, I had a young man, Jack Hoover, who I'm still in touch with today. And he told me in front of me, he had a drug issue. He was at the lowest point of his life and he didn't know where to go. And I had told you earlier, I've been through a brain tumor and stage 4 cancer. And my big thing to get through it was I always watched the last 2 rounds of Rocky
Mhm.
because he always gets up.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
when
that's
I got
good.
married, my wife would go, why are you always watching the last 2 rounds of Rocky? So I bought him the film. I set him down. Sometimes we call it ship and shock to wake him up and got him into treatment. Now he's got his master's. He's a clinical director. He's up in, I think, Lake County, and he comes down to our symposium each year, and he still watches last 2 rounds of Rocky when he's struggling too. So it's just kind of a funny story.
That's beautiful. The
Yeah.
eye of the tiger.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So how do you balance accountability with compassion when you're in a stage when someone's in front of you and they've made mistakes, but they have addiction or they have a mental health issue that is part of whatever crime they've committed? How do you find that balance?
It's difficult, and again, you got to listen because everybody's different. Some are begging for the help and want to be helped, and those are a little easier to deal with. Some come in with an attitude and don't want to recognize that they have a problem, and maybe you have to be a little bit sterner with them.
Mhm.
Now, I have found success by just telling them sometimes, I'm really proud of you. You're willing to take this step. Or we have a treatment facility, SRCCC. Sometimes I'll drive out there and talk to them.
Mhm.
And now they think somebody cares.
Yeah.
Because most people have burned a lot of bridges. So it's a balance. There's no book that can tell you. It's kind of a feel, if that makes any sense.
It does. And I bet it's tough because a lot of those folks have been through really rough things in their
Yeah.
lives. And so they build a defensiveness.
Right.
And it's hard to be vulnerable. But your advice to anybody coming in front of you is try to drop that, I'm sure, right?
The other thing is, a judge, you tend to think maybe you get better each year. And I think if I've done anything better, some people say I haven't done anything better. But there's usually a root that got them there.
Yeah.
So when I'm in court, I'll find out they just lost a parent.
Yeah.
Or they lost their sister to opiates.
Mhm.
There's something that got them off base.
Mhm.
So we say to ourselves, okay, now we know maybe the root.
Yeah.
We got to deal with that as well as the dependency. And I'm not sure I was good at that at the beginning of picking up on that.
Well, it's a very complicated thing when you think of the training you've gone through to
Yeah.
be a judge, to be an attorney, a prosecutor, a judge, even with all the economics, like it doesn't prepare you for the social, the clinical things that are coming before you. That's got to take time to develop, to understand what's happening with clients.
It does. It's, you run for office, you shake hands and put up a lot of signs.
Yeah.
And then once you get in that chair, it's very overwhelming at the beginning. And you got to be willing to learn. The judges that I really admire and talk to today will tell me that, Frank, keep trying to learn. You don't know it all. Look at things a little bit differently. And I think that helps everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hit on it a little bit, getting to the root cause of whatever criminal behavior has brought someone to you. People may have had the diseases of substance use disorder or mental health issues. They could have experienced trauma. How do you dig into that? Like, is it as they're standing in front of you in the court? Like, how do you get to know that person? You don't have much time to figure all that out.
Yeah, you don't, but that's kind of where I go. I mean, sometimes we get a pre-sentence investigation that'll have some
Yeah.
comments in there.
Mhm.
Sometimes, I have a reputation, what I hear, as being very hard-nosed. But when we talk to them, I'll say, listen, I know why people get addicted. I've been through these things in my life, and all of a sudden they're like, wow, maybe he's a human being.
Yeah.
Or I'll say, what's bringing, this isn't you. I'm looking at your background. What's getting you there? I think when they see a judge that's willing to just sit and talk to them and not yell, not scream,
Yeah.
it opens the door a little bit. And I'm trying to get better at that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the team around you? You talked about some of the information that's gathered. So when you're on the bench, you have more than just the person in front of you. Can you talk about your team a little bit? Like, how do they play into this to help you do the best job possible?
Well, we got a great group of judges, and we have different programs. You know, we all tend to focus on different areas, which is neat. You know, I focus on the opiate. Judge Farmer does an amazing job with our drug court chance program, where they can get it expunged within a year. Judge Haupt does her domestic violence program. Judge Hartnett does a reentry program for people who have been convicted to get them back out there. And Judge Heath with her veterans program that's recognized. So we all kind of work together in those type of things. My staff, Abby McConnell was my bailiff. She's wonderful at getting in. She has the best memory. You know, she can say, he was here in front of you. We've sent him here last time.
Nice, yeah.
And you rely on her input. And just all the social service agencies like yours, CommQuest, we work together. We see each other at the Opiate Awareness Day, some of the programs. It just takes it takes a village, I guess.
It really does. And actually, that's the next question I wanted to ask you, how you collaborate with social workers, treatment providers, community organizations to help defendants take the next step.
Well, I started this about 11 years ago, Stop Heroin from Killing Committee, which shouldn't be the name. It should be probably Stop Opiates. And we do a symposium every year. But what I've done is a PowerPoint, and I've went into places to speak. Been to Altman Hospital, Mercy Hospital, some of the schools, to get out there because there's a stigma attached to it. And some people don't like to talk about it. But when you go out there and encourage them and tell them some of the success stories and the options, it's funny where they'll call you later or come up after the meeting. So we're trying to do a good job of reaching out to the public that way.
Yeah.
I had some people say to me, why are you doing all this? Why don't you just let them die? If they want to use drugs, let them die. And it's interesting that two of the people that said that within 2 years called me and said, I have a family member. Can you help me?
You know, we don't say that to people with heart disease or other kinds of diseases. That really underscores the stigma, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And actually, this is part of the reason that we do things like this podcast and talk to folks like you, because the more we talk about addiction and mental illness, maybe it makes people feel a little bit more comfortable to take that first step to reach out for help. And we always hope they come to us before they end up in front of you.
Right.
But let me just take this opportunity to say that you can get care same day walking into any CommQuest office, and the folks that you'll meet when you come in are kind and they understand, and you're not going to face the stigma you feel out in the world. So it's a safe place to come and be vulnerable.
It's better than safe. It's an amazing place.
Oh,
and for those of you that are out there, there used to be this mindset of, I can't get a bed. You can get a bed anytime. You can get all the help that you want. You just have to look for it and want to do it. And it's a great place.
Thank you for saying that, actually, because we shouldn't have a single open bed or open appointment given the need in the community. But bridging from need to treatment is a big deal. That can be a big barrier because of stigma, because of many reasons.
Right.
And so there are beds available. There are psychiatry appointments available, counseling appointments. And we want to fill those up because we know there's need out there and help more people live their best lives. So thank you for that little commercial.
Oh, no, I'm just telling the truth. It's out there, and we need more and more because the statistics don't always get better, and it's a difficult world.
Yeah. And, you know, the other thing I should say as well, I always think about all the people I've worked with through my career and community leaders like yourself. If we had a family member who was experiencing addiction or mental illness, we would move mountains to help them, right?
Right.
We have resources that a lot of people in our community don't. Like, I would find a way to help any one of my children. If you don't have those resources, someone's got to be there for you. And I think CommQuest has been here 106 years, and we've really focused, we'll help anybody who needs help. But vulnerable communities, people who feel like resources are limiting their options, the first thing we do when people come in is we help them sort that out so that they don't rack up a bill, so that they, you know, if they aren't enrolled in Medicaid, we help get them enrolled. And so I think that's a barrier as well. Sometimes people are afraid that I can't afford to get treatment.
Right.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
try to remove that.
I think we're getting better at that, and CommQuest can help anybody. I just think that we are now getting people out there to talk to different people. People are starting to realize that there is hope out there,
Yeah.
that I'm not a bad person, we're not a bad family, because it happens to good families. I see it all the time. It can be a sports injury. It can be from an auto
So
accident.
many sports injuries. It's
Yeah.
tragic, isn't it?
Yeah, and they get hooked on these pills.
Mhm.
So CommQuest is a really good answer for those that are watching this or listening and maybe out there struggling. They're wonderful people.
Yeah, they're the greatest teammates ever. So you touched on stigma. Have you faced any challenges in implementing alternative sentencing or treatment-based programs? How have you encountered any obstacles, and how do you overcome that? Like with I don't know, among your prosecutors,
Sure.
among the community, of saying, you mentioned the person who said to you, "Why don't you just
Yeah.
let him die?" Can you talk about that?
Well, I got a lot of negativity when I started speaking out.
Mm.
And, several people saying, you'll never get reelected on this issue.
Mm.
And I just really didn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, you get to the point in life that people have to stand up for
Exactly.
certain things. Once it started to affect people's lives, it took a whole different turn, and people were a little bit more receptive. The prosecutors have been great. There was a lot of conflict when we started our drug court. I believe Judge Brown was the one who started that, and it's determined to be a great success, even
Mhm.
though some people still don't believe in it.
Mhm.
So everybody in Stark County, I always tell people we're very lucky. Everybody's been willing to work together. We haven't got a lot of negativity from people in the system.
That's good.
It's just a lot of people out there still believe that if you're going to use a drug, that you're a bad person.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, right. Well, I guess you showed them as well, because how long have you been a judge?
Well, 17 years,
There
but
you
you're
go.
only as good as your last decision, I've learned.
That's
But,
probably true.
No, again, I go back to my dad. You could be a public official, collects a paycheck, or a public official makes a difference.
Right.
And I hear his voice on some other areas too.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your dad for that advice.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're certainly living that advice.
Trying.
How do you measure success in the courtroom when it comes to rehabilitation and recovery?
That's another very good question, because there's no statistic.
Mhm.
Here's what I've learned. I now see more and more where my wife and I are shopping or having a pizza somewhere, where someone will come up and say, "You saved my life."
Mm.
And I'm just like, really? And then they'll tell me their story. And so you say to yourself, okay, this wasn't happening 15 years ago. It's happening now. And it's not just me. I know, I'm sure it happens to you and other people that work within the system. You see those type of things. I do think, from talking to our coroner this year, our numbers are going down, which gives us some success. So just talking to the people out in the community, seeing them being more active, but there's no statistic that clearly tells me what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the science of addiction and mental illness clinical treatment supports we may not have the statistic in terms of
Right.
X number of people survived, but certainly you're following the science of how to treat a disease. And we really appreciate that that's the way you approach your job.
Well, we're all working together, but again, they didn't teach us this in law school.
No,
They
I'm
didn't
sure
teach us this in
didn't.
judicial school. You
Yeah.
know, we're all flying by the seat of our pants.
Yeah.
You have more knowledge than me, but we're just trying to adjust as the times and what options are out there. But I think Stark County is very fortunate.
Yeah.
We have the CommQuest. We have a number of different programs out there that can do treatment, and I think that they're learning that we all care.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for other judges, maybe people even outside the county? Because you mentioned we have a lot of great judges.
Yeah.
Really smart, compassionate judges who try to understand these underlying issues and watch for results and reducing recidivism and all that. It's fabulous. If there's a judge out there who maybe isn't in our county, what advice would you have them in terms of starting down that
Sure.
path of understanding all of this?
Sure. Number one, keep an open mind and don't be
Yeah.
afraid to change your ways, and don't be afraid to get information. Some judges are set in their ways, and you have different counties, small counties, big counties. But I do try to talk to other judges and say, hey, what's working there? What do you think of this idea?
Mhm.
I've had several judges call me on the heroin committee. What are you doing? And things of that nature. So I think you just have to really be open-minded, willing to change maybe your ways, and understand that it is a problem that can be dealt with. And geez, when you see some of the fantastic stories of people who
Mhm.
recover, I know you have
Mhm.
so many of them. it will change your mindset altogether.
You know, one day I was out on our recovery campus and we were doing some renovations, and one of our HVAC guys walked by and he stopped and he introduced himself. Hi, I'm Danny. Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Elaine. He said, and he was there to, HVAC. There's always a problem. We need those guys to keep everything moving. And he said, I used to be here as a client. And he told me his whole story of how he came through treatment, and it took a few tries. And then it clicked, it stuck, and he went on to have a really great career in HVAC. And it was just so nice to meet just a person who's working with us as colleagues who had been through the program. It's beautiful.
That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. And actually, the state of Ohio has a designation called a recovery-friendly workplace. The governor implemented that within the last couple of years, and CommQuest is a recovery-friendly workplace. That is a philosophy that we try to share with other businesses, because people in recovery make fabulous employees. They're compassionate, empathetic, and certainly in our world, they have lived experience, but really in any business, to be able to give somebody a second chance, you find often that they're fabulous employees. And that's often how I try to relate to my colleagues that I worked with for so many years in the business community, because workforce is such an issue. Right. I try to look for those bridges that maybe they don't have any experience with addiction or mental illness in their families, and they don't understand it. And so if I try to create a bridge to something they do understand, like, wouldn't we like to get more people in the workforce? And I wonder, when you talk to folks in the community who don't have any experience with what you do, how do you create that bridge to help them be a little more compassionate to the needs?
Sure. I explained to them that some of the best counselors I've met have been addicts. Yeah. Because they know how to get out. They know how to get people back on path. Mm-hmm. I just try to tell them, be a little forgiving and give people a second chance. It works. But I've seen the success from a number of different counselors who've overcome that addiction. My friend Jack Hoover that I just talked about earlier. And you just got to try to get them to keep open-minded. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So to wrap up this great podcast, well, before I ask you the last question, is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have? Any other information you'd like to share?
Well, I didn't mention my beautiful wife, Rachel, who it took me 50 years to finally find somebody. But no, that's the only topic we didn't discuss, and we don't need to discuss that.
And she's an HR professional, isn't she?
She is, yeah. She's the civil service director of the city of Canton, and she's the director of our household. So,
Great. And it's a stronger household for it, huh?
Oh, yeah. She's the best. Yeah.
Well, okay. Now you made me feel guilty. Oh, no. Attorney and Professor Michael Reolfi, thank you for all you do.
There you go.
So why don't we wrap it up there?
Sure.
There could be all kinds of people listening to this, young people, young professionals, and we all work so hard to get young professionals engaged in the community. And so I wonder if you have any advice for young people who really want to take a holistic look at their career and really follow the advice your dad offered you. Right. What advice would you have for them?
My advice to them would be to try to get involved, to call somebody who maybe is in that area and ask them to go to lunch.
Yeah.
I learned so much by just calling someone, the professional, say, I'm watching what you're doing. Could I go to lunch with you? Mm-hmm. And I know they may be a bit intimidated. I go to lunch with so many young people. I think I have 4 lunches over the holidays. Whether they call me, they call you.
Nice, yeah.
Try to get that vision to look ahead and get information. And I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I often talk to my kids. I have 3 kids, and about introvert networking. It can be hard. It can be hard to call Judge Frank and say, "Would you go to lunch with me?" Right. But any kind of outreach, like to take the chance a little bit, I think that's great advice. And you find most experienced professionals willing to at least give you a little bit of time. So
I enjoyed it. Or maybe find someone who knows them, to make the call. But I enjoy talking to young people, and my door's always open. And some of the ones I've talked to are now lawyers in front of me.
Beautiful.
Now, they don't listen all the time, but no, they're doing a great job.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, it's been an honor and a privilege. Thank you very much.
We're glad to have you. And thank you for listening to our Hope Discovered podcast. Have a great day.